the house is burning that all of the bodies of the inhabitants of Oxbow Keep were in, all of them that were left. They're piled in here, laid end on end into this house, into this one particular house. And in the middle of them all was a table on top of which was a broken arrow that Gorak had found. And you have made your way to like one of the smaller abodes here in Oxbow Keep to like try and get some rest. But you can still see like the fire burning bright outside.
Yeah, Diego is like still, I think, breathing heavily, just trying to calm himself down. He had just smashed that orcish totem just completely to pieces in fury and anger that he rarely, if ever, feels. And it's kind of taken a bit of a toll on him, both physically and mentally. But he's kind of whispering to himself at the moment, trying to like calm himself. Can still feel some of the sting from the orcish arrows and the swords. But after a time, he would kind of look around to everybody and say, "All right, well, if we're going to be out here for any amount of time, we need to make sure we're well rested. Come here, I think I have something that can help us." And he would like kneel down onto the ground and begin like drawing all these symbols and phrases onto the ground and just start like chanting just these phrases in this strange mystical language just over and over again, just repeating, and that goes on for some minutes.
Balthazar would approach Diego and would sort of sink to the ground, stabbing his sword into the ground and using it as a prop for himself as he lowers himself into the ground, feeling the wounds and the bruises and just the strain of the fight wearing him down, the weight of his armor wearing him down, this armor that he hasn't taken off in several days at this point. And he would just sort of kneel down beside Diego and await the benefit of whatever this spell is that he's casting.
Garak had set the small house ablaze and is now kind of returning to where the rest of the group is, having not spoken of what he found in the small building, but just giving Balthazar a nod, a knowing kind of expression. And he kind of comes over to where Balthazar is now kneeling, and hands him these bloody scalps, these orc hair pieces, essentially, that he has taken from those that Balthazar has killed. He collected them all after the battle with the intent of distributing them. And he kind of kneels next to Balthazar and hands him these trophies. And he says, "Do not understand the aggression that we have seen here. It is one thing for them to take the heads of warriors, but they took the head of everyone who lives here. It's very strange."
"What is there to understand, half-breed?" Vasco interjects. "They are a mindless rabble and we put them down as such."
"These may be, but not all of my kind are. It is strange to see this kind of brutality, especially in the place where they expect to be holding. Why would they cut off the heads in this way and then stuff them in a hidden place? They should be on display, like I have done with these orc scum, for all to see. Why hide them?"
Lloyd, am I familiar enough with like the tactics of the orcs to know that this sort of killing everyone in this fort and then holding it would be sort of a strange thing? Am I more used to them sort of being like hit and run, like guerrilla sort of strategies?
Yes, definitely. It's really unusual for them to like make an attack on a fortified position like this.
Yeah.
If they attack, it would be like out when people are traveling, where they have the advantage usually on their mounts, the smiling hyena type mounts that they have. It would be rare for them to attack a fortification for sure, and then to stay in the fortification even rarer.
Yeah, so I would I would sort of nod in agreement as Garok is talking, and I would say to Vasco, what he says is true. I've fought these orcs before, and this taking a fort like this, holding it, it's unlike them. It displays a confident aggression I have not seen in them in my years. They're being bolstered by something, commanded by something that they feel willing to risk all-out war for this fort is troubling. We shouldn't flippantly disregard it.
They want our kind dead. And from the evidence which stands in front of me, and Vasco looks you up and down, Balthazar, from the evidence before me, they have use of our dead. Perhaps they mean the same for the corpses in this place.
Garok reaches inside of his kind of folds of clothing and produces the broken half of the arrow that he took, the one that has the fletchings of black on its back, and he kind of holds it out almost as if he expects everybody to understand what it means. And as he kind of looks around and notices that there aren't many signs of recognition, he kind of says, "This is a declaration of war. To break the arrow and place it at a point of victory, it means that the victory was not for a disagreement or stealing supplies. It was meant to send a message. And these feathers I have seen before. They come from far to the north of here, in the mountains."
The message is received. If it is war they want, they shall get it. Tell me, half-breed. You know so much of your kind. What would their next move be?
And with this first move not making very much sense, I cannot guess what their second step would be. They are, if it is people from the Black Eagle clan, they are way further south than they normally would go.
Because there's no
strange.
Because there's no precedent for this, there's no way for us to prepare. They have never struck at us like this, so we don't know what they're going to do next. Best we can do is continue scouting, try and gather more information. The four of us aren't going to stop this war, but we can maybe figure out their movements, report back, maybe gain the upper hand.
Your words have merit, dead man. Brother Diego, have you any means to reach out and spy across the land? Is it your kind that are capable of such?
And like this whole time, Diego's basically just been like almost whispering him to himself as he's drawn all these symbols, and he would kind of hearing his name and kind of wrapping up that he would kind of turn up to address everybody else, and kind of hold up a finger to you, Vasco, as if to say, just one moment. Say, Father, bless us with your strength that we might defeat your enemies. Bless us with discernment that we might know your path. Bless us with vitality that we might live to see your will done another day. And he lights a match and he drops it down onto the ground, and all these symbols that he's been scrawling all light up as if they were made of like as if they were just like drawn out of something that lights on fire, like oil, and it just but the fire doesn't burn. In fact, it's almost soothing, this kind of feeling of comfort. The weariness of battle seems to fall from everybody as he's finishing up casting Prayer of Healing after enough time. Mechanically, real quick, everyone's going to gain 15 hit points. And he would then turn to you, Vasco. To look through such long distances is not something that I have been blessed with. Some may have it in stronger ways than I do. There's many things I can do, but the gift of sight is not my blessing.
Then we shall have to use our own eyes. This Black Eagle clan. I do not care how vicious, I do not care how craven they are. They will not attack us alone. They would need support from the other clans of their kind. Am I mistaken, half-breed?
My name is Garok. And there is some truth to what you're saying, yes, but there are two tribes between here and there. And they sometimes are aggressive, though the Ramhorn don't usually leave their lands. So it would be unusual to do anything more than maybe support the Black Eagles. If we are to find out more, then I think we should travel north. But we should be very careful. The Ramhorn do not like, and he kind of looks Vasco over, do not like the Lion Paw clan. And they will probably mistake you for having an allegiance.
They can mistake all they want. They will all suffer the same retribution. I do not know about you, but I will not be returning to the Primaris empty-handed. He wants a result, and I say we give him one. I say we head north.
Regardless of where it is that we go, we really should not stay here for very long. The smoke is very high today. There's not much wind. And it is dark smoke. They will know that something has happened here. The ones that ran from the battle, they will not stay gone long.
Yes.
Lord Commander,
and when
is
they
there a
come
way?
back, they will
Go ahead,
bring
Jeff.
friends. Just to say, and when they return, they will know what's happened, and they will have brought their friends. Many more of them. I agree, it's not safe to stay here for long.
And Balthazar would nod in agreement as Diego says this. The further north we travel, the deeper into orc territory we go, the more orcs we leave at our back, the greater chance there is that the knowledge that we have dies with us. Lord Commander, is there any way that we can send word back to Last Light of the things we see, the movements we observe?
Vasco's going to rack his brain. He's made excursions out into the wilderness before. Lloyd, is there any way or any check I can make to see if Vasco remembers if there's any outposts or hidden encampments that we might be able to send word to?
I'm not sure, actually.
Or if there is a way to get to messages to Last Light without us actually having to go ourselves.
Yes, I imagine there must be, but I don't know what that is. What do you guys think?
I think if we're talking about like unexplored territory, there would be sort of base camps and things like that, maybe, and watchtowers.
Well, this would have been one of them, but it's gone now.
Yeah.
Would there be like messenger birds or falcons or something of that sort that maybe would be here in like a roost or something like that?
Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Yeah, let's go with that.
I brought a satellite phone too, just in case. So
just in case. Yeah, the GPS.
Yeah.
You would find a rookery here, like a bunch of. Well, you would find a couple of them still alive, many of them dead, like killed by the orcs, seemingly. Like they walked in here and like grabbed a few of these birds, just like crushed them. But not all of them. Maybe those birds were quiet during that moment. You would see that there's like 2 of them left. Falcons with hoods over their eyes, a little bit worried, it seems. But calm enough for you to approach.
Brother Diego, have you parchment and quill and ink?
Yes, I can scribe a letter real quick, informing them of our progress so far.
I shall
your
dictate.
Of course. As you command.
Primaris. We arrived at Oxbow Keep, and we fought many savage mutants and orcs. We were victorious this day, but we found many dead, many slain. The bodies kept in the same location, rotting. It seems the orcs wish to keep our dead in a state of dishonor. But we saw to this. We shall be heading north, further into the wilderness. The half-breed suspects that this is a message assigned to all of us civilized kind, that war is coming. The orcs are organizing beneath the banner of the Black Eagles, a hideous and monstrous clan of their kind. We shall be performing more reconnaissance, and we will return to Oxbow Keep to send further messages when we have more reconnaissance. Regards, your loyal servant, Lord Vasco de Leon V.
Do you wish to spray it with some perfume before you seal it?
I'll just wipe it on your armpit, half-breed. How's that sound?
You like the way I smell. Maybe that is why you've come out into the wild with me.
Vasco spits on the floor and just shoulders past you.
He's a very terse individual.
Diego tries his best to hide his smirk from Vasco as he shoulders past, but finishes up writing out everything that had been dictated to him so kindly by his master before preparing the letter to be sent.
So you pen the letter, you attach it to the little compartment at the ankle. Is that what you call it? The talon? I don't know if it's an ankle of one of these falcons. And you can let it go and it will make its way towards last light, you hope. You can get some rest in one of these houses, not totally destroyed. Keeping on watch throughout the night, but nothing approaches. And when the sun starts to rise, much earlier than you would like, nothing has happened in the camp beyond the fact that the house is now smouldering embers that you had burned the bodies in.
So Garak kind of finishes placing the last of these orc heads on a pig pole, kind of scattered around this keep. Maybe some of the spears that they actually used to fight us the night before. and where he's been allowing these scalps to kind of cure in the smoke from the building that we burned, he carries the ones that Brother Diego had earned over to him, and he kind of extends them out with a little bit of hesitation.
He would give you like a quizzical, confused look. Say, what am I supposed to use these for?
Your treasures, your trophies. You've taken them from the ones that you have killed. You should wear them with pride.
And he kind of gestures on himself where he's wearing several of these things.
Yeah, and he would just kind of look down at himself, like with like this. I imagine like a clerical tabard over his armor. Like there's no real place on him for such things, and he would just kind of give you like the look of confusion would just grow and almost turn into a little bit of disgust. It would be wrong for me to soil the gifts of such fine clothes from the father and his establishment with such treasures. And he says treasures with almost a cringe to call them such things. But he kind of shakes his head. If it would at least please you, I will stow them in my pack for you.
It is up to you. It is a matter of your own pride. If you wish not to take them, then that is fine.
I have pride enough with my own treasures, but I appreciate the gesture.
Do it yourself.
And he'll go ahead and tuck them into his own belt.
So, you eat a breakfast of hard bread, hard cheese, and the entirety of the steppe lies before you. And the question is, what do you want to do?
Right before they go, I think Vasco is just going to take a quick sweep of Oxbow Keep just to see if he can find any wine.
Yeah, you definitely would find wine. You would find, nothing fantastic. This is like the frontier, the deepest frontier. So yeah, you wouldn't find anything spectacular, but it's, maybe it's fortified wine. It's just like, it's alcoholic, which is maybe what you're looking for.
It'll do the trick. Vasco knows that this will make the journey at least a bit bearable for him, and the odd swig of wine on his long journey. And he actually takes up, say that maybe there's 2 bottles, and he takes up one. And as he's walking out and shouldering his belongings, he presses another bottle into Balthazar's chest as he walks by him without saying a word.
And this small gesture is probably the most kindness that anyone has shown Balthazar in maybe years. And I don't think that Vasco realizes that. And so as he presses the wine into his chest, Balthazar is kind of speechless, and he just watches the Lord Commander kind of walk past. And he has a quiet moment to himself where he pops the cork and smells this just ghastly brew, takes a quick swig, nods approvingly, tucks it into his belt, and then follows after the Lord Commander with a little bit more urgency than he would have before.
So which way are you going? Is it north? Garrick will be able to tell you that if you head straight north, you'll end up in the territory of the Ramhorn clan. If you were to head east, you would end up in his. Maybe he wouldn't tell you. You would end up in the Lion Paw clan territory, which is another clan. So those are the 2 ways you can go. The other way, west, is into the mountains, which is not helpful.
I would definitely look to the Lord Commander as well as Garrock to decide where we're going.
You were brought for a reason, half-breed. Which way?
I think the only real choice we have is to go north. As difficult as it may be, trouble, guaranteed trouble, lies to the east and the west. We should go north.
We have guaranteed trouble whichever way we go other than south. Very well. Onwards.
So you begin your journey north through the rolling hills, the sort of featureless steppe that lies before you. It's actually amazingly difficult to travel in a place like this because there's no feeling of progress. Everywhere you go looks the same, and every time you've gone a mile, you've gone 10 miles, or have you even? It looks like you've barely moved. It's all just this sort of trackless, featureless grassland. Occasionally you might see a tree here or there, or a stream or something, but mostly it's just this endless grassland. The trip is boring, and riding a horse is boring, and you are not exactly good friends, so I imagine there's very little actual conversation happening. Balthazar believes that you are an alcoholic, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to need you to make me a wisdom save not to get pissed drunk.
Okay. So I was going to say, because I'm probably going to. Wisdom save. Ooh, that's a 5 on the die. 8 total.
Okay. So I think that the temptation is really high, and you were kind of getting into withdrawals anyway. And now you've been presented with this gift, and you're finding it very difficult to resist the alluring wine.
And it's one of those things where I don't even do it intentionally. I just sort of am taking a swig, and I'm bored. I have too much to think about. I'm idle. And so it just, before I know it, within an hour, the bottle is completely gone. And I realize as I'm sitting there, shit, I'm drunk. And I haven't been for a couple of days at this point. So it's hitting me pretty hard.
Yep. So maybe the rest of you notice an occasional or a burp or something of that nature, or maybe you would see him leaning forward in the saddle a bit, and then jumping up again as he is half asleep.
Yeah, I'm dozing off a little bit, and I'm trying really hard to conceal it, but probably not doing a very good job.
Garak kind of slows up to the rock so that he kind of falls back alongside Balthasar, and he leans over. And he says, Gulta, are you okay? You don't seem so well.
I'm fine. I'm good.
May I see that bottle?
This bottle here, this one, and I would hand it to him.
And he kind of holds it up and shakes it, and noticing not much of a slosh at all, he turns it upside down, maybe 1 or 2 drops comes out. Gulta, this is. We need you clear-headed.
I know. It won't happen again. Okay, just listen. I'm fine, and I'm as good, if not better, with a sword like this. So I'm fine.
I've heard you say that many times, but I do not know if it is actually true.
Well, maybe if I say it enough, it will become true.
Maybe this time.
I'm all right. Just
Okay.
Yeah, keep a sharp eye out.
All right.
He doesn't need an intervention, half-breed. Dead men don't get drunk.
Current evidence would suggest that's not. I'm fine. And I would say it a little bit louder so that everyone can hear it. Okay? I'm fine. Thank you, everyone, for your concern.
Vasco just looks at Brother Diego and gives a rare smile before healing his horse and making his way to the front of the convoy.
Continue on for a couple of minutes until you crest a hill, and you can see below that there is an orc and his mount, and his mount is badly wounded. It's got like what you can see looks to be like claw marks running down the length of it, and he has similar claw marks along his leg, which would have been on that side, like deep 4 gashes along this animal and along the orc, and he's like squatting next to it, and he's like trying to comfort it as it's dying, it seems.
Look, men, our first catch of the day.
I know that I might sound a bit repetitive, but perhaps we can find a diplomatic solution. This man may not be in a state to fight. It would not be a challenge.
If he asks for a gift, I'll cut off his fucking head. Make it quick.
Very well. And he'll kind of, nudge to the rock forward and kind of make sure that his hands are clear of his weapons as he kind of slowly rides up on this individual.
He would turn and you would see him like wince as he puts weight on his injured leg. And he like puts himself between you and the mount. The mount is like lying on its side, much like your Smiler. It's like very, very large, and it looks like they're bonded, or at least they know each other well. But this thing is very near death. You can tell. He looks pretty distraught about it, and he sees you, and he like is crouching low, and he like looks up.
And like I said, the rock kind of puts his hands where you can clearly see them, and he uses the Otso word for peace. Peace. I mean you no harm.
Peace.
Unless you mean harm for me.
No. You must be careful. Sky Terror got me.
You are from Ramhorn?
Ramhorn.
I see. And he kind of looks at the sky nervously. Your mount is dying.
Yes. I cannot leave him where the thing will eat him. It won't be right. He should die on his own terms.
I travel with some men who have powers to heal the sick and dying.
Men?
Yes, men.
But they have dark sorcery. They cannot heal, only kill.
I have seen it with my eyes. This very night. It is incredible, but somehow the gods answer their prayers. I cannot say that they will help, however. They are pains in the ass.
Men are treacherous. It is known. They are treacherous. They will say one thing and do another. They cannot be trusted. And it will be back soon. You should go.
Let me speak with them, and I will make a decision. I will be fast. And he turns around and heads back to the group as quickly as he can. Whenever he arrives, he says he is injured and his mount is dying. He is of the Ramhorn clan. I have told him it is possible for you to say your prayers for his mount and cure him. I did not promise as such. I merely told him it was possible.
What attacked him?
He says it is the Sky Terror. It is not something that we should take lightly. We should make a decision quickly and then get out of this area. If you are not willing to heal his mount, I think he will understand.
and we can go past him. He will not cause us any trouble. But I believe if we can help him, he may be able to help us get across these lands a little easier. Maybe.
Might know something about the movement of the other orc clans as well.
Relation could be possible.
This Sky Terror, what do you know of such a beast?
You would only know stories. They don't exist in Lion Paw lands. They're like mountainous. You would hear stories of like gigantic feathered creatures, very, very heavy jaws that would destroy you, claws that would rip you apart.
They are at once a bird and at once not. They are large creatures that they have claws like knives, beaks like anvils. It is not wise to cross one. I've never seen one myself, but I have heard of the damage they have inflicted.
Brother Diego, have you the resources to spare this thing?
He would kind of look to Garak when he asks this. Are we sure that it's wise? We could be sparing the enemy. Bring it from death so that it might bring us to death later. If there's reason to believe this isn't true, I can see what I can do. But I do not want to bring the enemy a weapon with which to kill us.
Oh, did you not hear, Brother Diego? Yes, in fact, we're actually here to speak to every damn orc we ever come across, without putting a blade in their chest or a dagger in their throat. Do get with the program.
Is your bloodlust not sated? We killed many just a few nights ago. I think if we manage to find a friend, or at least someone who can be helpful, should we not use that help?
Before Brother Diego is to inflict his blessed healing, we would want certain assurances from this beast. You can bind him with his word. Or does that mean anything to your kind?
Lloyd, would I know if Ramhorn are dishonorable or honorable, just kind of as a blanket statement?
I don't know. I don't think they have a reputation as dishonorable. And you would think that your people tend to keep their word more than the men that you know.
I imagine that he might keep his word. He is in a dark situation. He is hurting in more ways than one. I cannot guarantee it, but that is what my gut says.
And he is one orc. We slew them by the dozens last night. If he crosses us, he will die quickly and painfully.
All right, bring me to him. I'll see what I can do.
Garak kind of takes a deep breath and kind of turns around and heads back towards this injured orc and his mount with a slight smile.
He looks nervous. He's looking up at the sky worriedly as you approach, and he looks at you. Well,
This is one they call Diego. I think he may be able to help. He seems to be willing. He will have to place his hands upon your mount.
he looks nervously. You won't hurt it.
I do not believe so. No.
He like takes half a step away. You can see that his leg is badly injured as well. These like 3 big deep cuts, definitely made by a claw.
Garak will turn to Diego and kind of give him a nod.
Diego's going to like very cautiously approach towards this beast, this mount on the ground, just taking very slow, deliberate steps to ensure that no sudden movement might cause any distress on anybody's behalf. After a slow approach, he would kneel down next to the creature, putting one hand just over it. Father, I ask that you bless me with the ability to keep this beast alive, that we might have a friend out in the fields, that they might know your power and know that we come, and know that our side is truth. And as he does this, he's actually only going to cast Spare the Dying on the beast. He's not going to use a spell slot to heal it, but he is going to prevent it from dying.
Okay. So there's like the chant goes, and you like speak this magic. There's a little bit of like, I guess, a feeling of hairs in the back of your neck, and the creature, which is like, you can see it's like chest rising and falling quickly, calms, and like it was just kind of lying there, and then it like shakes a little bit and like makes a little noise, almost like a chuckle these strange animals do. And the orc is like looking at you very, very intensely.
Diego's going to look over to Garrock and say, the creature will live, but cannot say much more than that. If it's attacked again soon, it will not have much to go off of. If it has any strength left in it, I would suggest that it leaves and finds safety so that it might recover a full recovery soon from there. That's all that I'm willing to do. And he kind of says that knowing that Garrick won't translate that last part, at least hoping.
And he translates everything but the commentary on the end. Maybe putting it in a little more compassionate language.
This is the great magic of men. He will not die. He said that they could heal him. He's stuck here now. I'm stuck here now. The thing will be back. And the rest of you can see him getting like very agitated. He's like gesturing aggressively towards Diego.
Their god's magic, and he says this in Orcish, their god's magic sometimes is weak, like their hearts.
Now I have to wait here for the Sky Terror to return.
Maybe you can walk your friend out of here.
I can't.
Perhaps.
I can't carry him.
I do not know what to say, other than I am sorry. I did what I could.
He looks at you, Diego, and he like puts his thumb in his mouth and like bites, and there's like a drop of blood. And he like rubs it between his fingers and then like flicks onto the ground.
Vasco is off his horse and his hand goes to the hilt of his blade and stands next to Diego, his eyes locked on this orc. And he says, translate this for me, half-breed. My good man here has done him a service that he is now indebted to. If this Sky Terror returns, he can repay us by acting as bait.
Barak turns to this orc and he says, and he kind of nods towards Vasco, and he says that
he is willing to fight the Sky Terror if you are willing to stand out in the open.
How can I trust their word after they said they would heal my friend, and now nothing, and now they expect me to stand here and wait. I don't. And then you hear like a and this like screech, and you can like see like look up into the sky and see that there is a bird shape approaching. The orc's eyes go wide, and he like reaches and pulls like a sling from his belt, and puts a stone in it. He's like looking past all of you now, and he begins like getting it ready.
Balthazar, who's sort of been watching all of this from horseback, sees the shape looming, and he sort of has this moment where he's not sure if he's actually seeing the shape or if he's a little bit drunker than he thought he was. And then he sees this orc reacting, and he will hop off of his horse, maybe stumbling a little bit, and slap it in the rear so that it begins galloping off in the other direction. And he draws out his sword, and it maybe sticks in the scabbard a little bit as he goes at it from an odd angle and brings the sword out. And he says, "Lord Commander, we've got company."
I don't know if they've had similar training, but Vasco mirrors this, slapping his horse on the rear so it gallops, and he draws his mace and shield, I'm going to say, and stands in formation beside Balthazar.
As the thing gets closer, you can see more of details about it. It is nothing you've ever seen before. It's colossal. This huge fat shape that should be able to fly with these massive wings. A mix of owl and bear, just enormous claws floating beneath it as it goes. And there's just this and this screech. And it goes right over you after your horses. And it swoops down and it picks up Vasco's horse, grabs it, and just goes up into the sky again with the horse.
Vasco watches, and he doesn't say anything at all. He watches as this fucking thing comes out of the sky, and of course takes his horse. Of course it takes his horse.
I rolled a
Lloyd,
dice.
I would actually like to try something if I could, if I have the wherewithal to react as it's doing this.
Sure.
So I am a little drunk, so I don't know if I can do this, but I'd like to try and cast Eldritch Blast on this thing. And I have this feature for my Eldritch Blast called Grasp of Hadar, which allows me to pull things towards me if I hit them with Eldritch Blast. I'd like to try and hit this thing and pull it back towards the ground.
Okay.
So I'm going to try that.
Go for it.
Okay, Eldritch Blast. Ooh, and I get 2 beams with Eldritch Blast, so I'll fire both at this thing. The first is 15.
Yep, that's good.
And the second one is a 23.
Definitely.
Okay, so damage first. That's 12 damage.
Okay.
8 damage, so 20 total.
Yep.
And with each blast, I can pull 10 feet in a straight line closer to me. So maybe I don't want to do this, but I'm going to try it. So basically what this looks like is Balthazar sort of with both hands reaches out, and out of both of his hands comes this just... it almost looks like a paw, like a panther paw, this spectral panther paw that just lances out from his hand. And this shadowy manifestation of this paw just catches the Sky Terror's hide, and the claws sort of grip into it and yank it and then disappear. And so it gets pulled 20 feet to the ground and towards me, trying to basically bring it to the ground with the horse so that it can't escape.
Nice. So I'll say it's just as it grabs the horse, and it's like there's a big beat of its wings to take off again. These hands connect and pull it backwards, and there's like a scream from the horse and a screech from the Sky Terror as it's like collides with the ground and rolls. before finally like righting itself. The horse is like screaming and runs away, and it like turns in all of your directions and lets out this horrifying screech, like the screech of an owl, except much, much larger. And it like paws at the ground and then runs forward, and dice spill from your pockets, and you roll initiative.
And I want to specify too, I couldn't do that with both Eldritch Blasts. My Grasp of Hadar is once on each of my turns. I can do it if I hit a creature with Eldritch Blast. So it would have only been 10 feet.
Sure. I'll say it's enough.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so Dormu, who is the orc with you, he like is slinging that swing around, and he like lets it go, and manages to connect. So you see a stone, specially shaped for this purpose, like collide into the Sky Tower, but it barely seems to notice. Garrock.
Garrock pulls his short bow, knocks an arrow, and fires at this thing as he is trying to spur Tuvarok forward to meet this thing's charge.
Yes.
Yes! That is a 20 on the die.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so... how do you do the crit damage again? I know there's also a chart that you roll on, but...
Yep, so roll all your dice twice.
Okay. That's 4 and 6. So 10 points of piercing damage if it makes a difference from the short bow.
Then, okay, let me see. I wonder this will work. So you can go ahead and roll me a d10, please.
Okay. Oh, I forgot. Never mind. Savage attack only applies to melee. Never mind.
And a d12 as well, please.
Okay, so I got a 6 on the d10 and a 2 on the d12.
Okay. Okay, so the arrow goes and it catches this this hulking thing in its front left arm or leg or whatever you want to call it. It like cuts through the muscle, and you can see a spray of like red blood. It's going to have reduced movement from that.
Does Tuvarok, is he going to have the capability of closing?
Yes, I think you would if you're dashing on your mount. Because the mount gets to take an action as well on your turn.
Yeah, I think so.
The rules for riding are really, really good, and if you are riding a tamed animal, it gets to take either a dash action, a dodge action,
nice,
or something else. Yeah.
Okay, and then I have, because he's also my companion as a ranger, I have coordinated attack that when I use the attack action, that he can use his reaction to make an attack.
Okay,
so
great.
if he can't close, I would like for him to bite.
Yep, for sure. Go for it.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, that's only a 10 total.
Okay, that won't do it.
Okay.
Beneath the feathers, it seems that there is like a thick hide, and even the bite of Tuvarok is not enough to get through at the angle that he's at. But there's just like this boom, 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 and then there's this whack of collision as Tuvarok tries to get a bite in, and you are very close with this Sky Terror now. Balthazar. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. I had forgotten as a bonus action. I was supposed to do this before I attacked, but Garrock kind of leans out and actually plucks a feather off of this creature, and is going to be casting Hunter's Mark upon him as he kind of pushes this feather into his hair.
Perfect. Great. Okay. Balthazar.
Balthazar, unmounted. How far away is the Sky Terror from me?
Like 80-ish feet.
80-ish feet. Okay. So I'm going to rush forward to try and meet it and help Garrock out. So I will move 30 feet closer towards it. And then with sword in hand, I will fire another Eldritch Blast from my palm, firing 2 beams at this thing. Jeez, so that's a hit and a crit.
Oh my goodness. Okay, excellent. So give me your damage.
Okay, so damage for the non-crit is 8. And then damage for the crit is 9, 13, 16 on the crit.
Very nice.
So just, and these paws just come forward, and one of the paws, I'm going to pull it 10 feet closer to me with that grasp of Hadar. So it just gets dragged in the ground, and I imagine its kind of paw talons are just sort of trying to stop it from being pulled, but it's just kicking up dirt as I just pull it towards me with this shadowy magic.
Yep. Only magic could be powerful enough to move this thing against its will, and it does so. Just you can see like big gouts of dirt being thrown up. Need you to roll a d12 and a d10, please.
D12 and a D10, you got it. 2 on the D10.
Okay.
And a 3 on the D12.
Okay, so this spectral claw like slashes into that same leg where the arrow is, and like as it does so, like the arrow is pulled out, and there's like this awful splash as like the barbs in the arrow pull out a big chunk of meat. Its movement is once again reduced, and its AC is reduced until the start of its next turn. With the end of its next turn. So that same leg, you can already see it starting to limp on that leg a little bit. Is that it for you?
Yeah, that's it. I'm just still charging towards it, trying to close that gap.
Okay. Vasco.
Balthazar's witchcraft has dragged this creature towards the charging Vasco, who is going to attempt to deliver a clotheslining uppercut as it's being dragged towards their line. I pre-rolled my attacks, Lloyd. The first one is a 21.
Hang on. It's how far did you move it, Balthazar? Because I don't think you'll be able to get there. Vasco?
So I moved it 10 feet.
10. So it would still be 70 from where you are, Vasco.
Oh, geez, that's much further away than I thought.
No, he's throwing his sword, right? That's what you're doing, Vasco? You're
Yeah,
just going
that's
to throw
exactly what
your
I'm doing.
sword 80 feet towards this thing?
All right, in that case, then, I will throw a javelin at it. Then.
Excellent. Yeah,
Range,
so you can use those rolls you had. It's all good.
So 21, yeah.
Yep, that's a hit.
Okay, let me redo the damage of a javelin. Bear with me. Ooh, that was good. That's 11 points of damage.
Right.
As I just hurl the javelin as hard as I can at its shoulder, maybe.
Yep.
Can I throw 2 javelins in a turn? Is that okay? I get to
Yep.
attack, so
You
yeah.
2 attacks.
Yeah, just checking. Well, my second attack I pre-rolled is a 17, so...
Okay, that's a hit as well.
Oh, sweet, okay. And that's 10 points of damage as a second javelin just sinks into its flesh.
So these 2 javelins, like one catches it in the wing, the other one in the shoulder, and and but it just keeps moving. It doesn't seem like phased by any of these things. It's got projectiles sticking out of it all over, but it's as big as an elephant, and it's very hard to put a dent in this thing, it seems. Okay, oh baby, the Sky Terror. It is going to lash out first with a claw towards. It's all going to be Garrock, I'm afraid, because it's the only thing in range. So the claw is going to be a 17 to hit you, Garrock. The other claw is going to be a 21 to hit you.
Both will do so.
And then the bite is going to be a 15 to hit you.
That is my own class, exactly.
Oh, Jesus. This is going to be bad. Got to take out more dice. Never good.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Dude's going to the bank to take a loan out, get all the dice he can.
Oh, Jesus.
Not doing the owlbear encounter by half, though. That's something.
So the first claw is going to be 21 damage as it just smashes into you. He rolled maximum on that. This enormous claw is going to smash you. I'm going to need you to make a strength save not to fall off, or an animal handling check not to fall off to Varrock.
I got a 15.
Okay, yeah, I'll say that's enough. You're able to just barely hold on as you get this like smash. The second is going to be 11 for the second claw. The bite is going to be 17.
So this thing just lays into Garrock, and he gets slapped one direction almost out of the saddle. And actually what keeps him in the saddle is the slap from the other direction, as it kind of almost rights him, almost sending him over the other way, and then right into this thing's beak as it bites down onto him. And for a moment, Garrock's vision starts to go white as he kind of slumps over, and you can see just something in him. He shakes his head. Not now. Not today. You will not defeat me today. And he is going to use Restless Endurance.
Yes.
And at 0 HP, he goes to 1 instead.
Unreal. Excellent. So just like this determination not to lose this fight, this huge thing like stands up, like its wings spread wide, and that's at this terrifying screech, and then like goes back into the ground like a I need Tuvarok to make a wisdom saving throw not to be afraid.
Only a 4, Chief.
Okay, so I'm going to say Tuvarok, seeing the blows you've taken, and seeing this huge creature like over twice his size rear up like that, is going to be afraid. So he's going to have to use his action to move away as far as he can, and cannot willingly move towards the owlbear, the Sky Terror. Diego.
Yeah, Diego is like, he sees this thing just like lay into Garrock, and his eyes kind of go wide at just the insane monstrosity that happens. I imagine I'm still pretty far back as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, you'd be where the rest of them were, so you would be 70 feet from it as well.
Yeah, I'm going to move 30 feet towards it. As he does so, he's kind of chanting under his breath. He just, Father, guide my strike, that we might fell this beast, and guide their hands as well. And he holds up a hand, and there's like a holy glyph that he seems to inscribe almost into thin air, which then he kind of pushes his hands forward as it sends this radiant blast, just rocketing towards this creature for a 19 to hit.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it's going to take 15 radiant damage as this energy just slams into its chest. As it does so, it almost seems to kind of like inscribe itself into that same glyph, a glyph of guidance, as he casts Guiding Bolt. So in addition to that 15 radiant damage, the next attack against it will have advantage, being led to that spot by Diego's magic and his god.
Excellent. Nice work. At the end of your turn, which I forgot about the first round, it's going to take a legendary action. It's going to beat its wings once, twice, and it's up in the air. It's going to fly up away from you, Garrock and Tuvarok. You need to make a dex save, please, as does Tuvarok.
Do I get a swipe at him for leaving engagement?
You will, yep.
Okay. Dex save for myself is an 18.
Okay.
For Tuvarok, it is an 18 as well.
Okay, so you can see it coming. You can see like the muscles begin to twitch and the wings move, and you're able to like duck down and like press yourselves against the ground before like the wings beat. You're able to get one slash off before it goes.
Yeah, I actually won't be able to because all I have equipped right now is my bow.
Okay, I think you can make opportunity attacks with a bow, right? With a ranged weapon.
I don't think usually, but I mean, obviously it's up to you. But I would at least like to have Tuvarok take a snap at it. Oh, he can't because he's frightened.
Yeah, he
has I guess he.
No, he'll have disadvantage.
Still attack. Okay, that's perfect. I like that.
So he'll actually make the attack as regular because guiding bolt.
Guiding bolt. Yeah.
Oh shit, that's right. Nice. Okay. In that case, it is a 22.
For sure.
Excellent. All right, come on, Tuvi. That's 17 points of piercing damage from Tuvarok.
Tuvarok MVP.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage.
Brutal bite onto like the wrist of this thing as it's about to take off, and it like shakes. Tuvarok is like snarling like a dog with a bone, and it like shakes, and finally Tuvarok like whimpers and it flies. It's going to move. I think its movement is hurt when it's walking. I don't see how it would affect its wings. So it's going to move closer to you guys by 40 feet. And it's going to like move there and then land and then screech. But now it is Dormu's turn. Dormu looks absolutely horrified. He is like standing over his smiler, and he's going to like and throw it again with the swing. But he bottles it and it whizzes over the head of the thing. At the end of Dormu's turn, it's going to take another legendary action to move forward. So it's moved 40. So you guys are basically, it's going to be right on you now, I think. Now to pick a target. It's Balthazar. You were number 3. It moves forward towards you, Balthazar, and it's going to swipe with a claw. It's really bad news. It's a critical hit. Oh, it's not good.
I would say I picked the wrong day to quit drinking, but
that's just not true.
That's not true.
Okay. Oh, fucking hell. It's going to be 30 points of slashing damage.
That's not great.
It's not good, no. Is that more than half your hit points in one go?
It's a lot more than half my hit points, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me check the Doom book for what that means. Because you've got System Shock. If anyone has a DMG open, that'd be real convenient.
I've got mine right here.
Cool. I don't know offhand what the System Shock ones are. I know 1, 2, 3 is dead and 4 is stunned, but I don't know what 5 is.
Oh, God. Okay. I'll find it here.
And then I also need to roll your crit. Oh, God.
Okay. Massive damage, System Shock. All right, D10. Here we go.
Yeah, it was a 5.
Oh, you rolled a 5? Okay, I'm stunned until the end of my next turn.
Oh, God. Wow. Ouch.
Yeah, so 1 is 0, 2 to 3 is 0 but stable.
Okay. So I rolled for the crit. It's also a crit.
What?
Yep. I shit you not.
Listen,
Hold
this is the
on.
most excited I've ever been about taking damage. This is an owlbear. I'm really jazzed about this.
Okay. Right arm slashing.
Oh, I'm gonna be so dead.
This might be dead.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like it's dead. Okay, but this is like slashing for a sword, which doesn't really make sense here. Okay, so it slashes this claw at you, this like ridiculous strike under. So it's like an uppercut basically from this owlbear. And it's gonna like pull up underneath your armpit, and like the claws are gonna embed two of them like just into your chest cavity. The other two are gonna continue through and just sever that arm right off. It's gonna fly and like thunk onto the ground. There's gonna be this arterial spray of blood. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say you have 1d8 turns before you bleed to death, because there's magical healing in this setting. In this stuff, you'd just be dead. Do you want to roll the d8 or should I?
Why don't you? Why don't you do that?
Are you sure? Because I've been rolling real well here. I don't know.
Yeah, I want you to roll well. I want you to roll high.
It's an 8.
Oh, okay.
Okay, 8 turns to get magical healing, and cauterize that stump.
So am I down to 0 then? Hit points?
I feel like you'd have to be.
I feel like I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I did have 13 left, but if he's knocking my arm off, then I gotta be at least down to 0.
Yeah, well, you're stunned.
Yeah.
That was such a fucking brutal round. Oh god. That was one attack too. This is
No kidding. And it wasn't even its turn.
right. Okay, so that's that. Fucking hell. Garrock.
So Gerok has started to dismount Tuvarok because he can tell that Tuvarok is scared and is out of here. So he just kind of leaps from the saddle, still drawing and knocking another arrow, and he turns around just in time to kind of see this happen, and he just screams out, "Guta!" And he kind of runs his normal speed back in that direction, just loosing an arrow at this beast, trying to take it down before it can do more harm to his friend. A 24 to hit.
Definitely hit.
Excellent. And he has Hunter's Mark on him. So the damage is going to be 12 points.
Okay, 12. Alrighty. Still up. Okay. Is that all for you?
Yeah, without my mount, that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, so you can see Tuvarok like where you left him, and he's like his tail is literally between his legs, and he's like crouched down low, submitting to this thing. He's afraid of it, more afraid of it than he is loyal to you. It seems there's just like a base animal fear that has creeped into him. Okay, he has used 2 legendaries. He's going to use another one. Its final one now. To Screech, I'm going to need all of you, except for Balthazar, to make me a wisdom saving throw. Okay, so you're all good. You can like hear this awful screech, this high pitched, it's very, very loud. You can feel it in your chest, screech. But you are made of sterner stuff, and you're able to overcome the fear that would grip lesser men. Balthazar, it's your turn. You're stunned. Is there anything you'd like to do?
For my turn, I'd like to bleed out and go into shock. That's what I'll do. No, Balthazar his sword has clattered to the ground some feet away. He is laying on his back. He was basically lifted up off the ground, like you were talking about, and his arm. He came back down. His arm did not, and so he is laying there, just blood pooling beneath him, liters at a time, as his lifeblood is just pumping out of him with every beat of his heart. He's pale, pallid. His eyes are rolled up into his head. He is in bad shape.
Rad. Vasco.
Brother Diego, to the dead man's side I will cover you. I've heard your raw beast. Now hear mine! Vasco rushes forth with a 22 for his first attack with his mace.
Sir.
And the second one is an 18.
Definitely.
The first smite is going to be 27 points of damage to the owlbear.
Oh, baby.
And the second is 14 points of damage, a normal attack.
Okay. Let me just add some math here.
I'm waiting to see if it's still up because I'll describe fittingly, obviously, which way.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Please die, please die.
Oh my goodness. It is still up.
Fuck. So Vasco lunges forward, his shield in front of him to the last second, and he opens his guard and swings his mace upwards in an uppercut, catching this thing beneath its beak. The beat of its wings is almost enough to knock Vasco over, but he holds his ground and then delivers another crushing strike to the side of the creature's head, trying to get its attention from his comrade on the ground.
Excellent. The beast is like, you can see that it's buckling and you think you've done major damage to that arm. And you can see that it's like looking around and considering just getting the hell out of here. But you can see in its eyes also sort of like an animal, the fight or flight response is happening right now. And I'm going to see what it is. It stays. It lashes out towards you now. Vasco, as you've smashed it, it's going to try and unleash a full round of attacks on you.
With my shield, my armor class is now 18 rather than 60. Okay. Like it'll do anything.
So the first claw is an 18. Second one is going to miss you. And the bite will hit as well. No crits. Okay. That'll be 34 total from the two attacks.
Vasco buckles from the assault and he rolls backwards, blood pouring from him.
It like slashes out with a claw and then bites at your sword arm, and this beak, like you can feel this like vice-like force, like almost crushing the bones in your arm. And that's it. Diego.
Yeah, so Diego had begun like running towards this thing to meet it, and then it just like goes right over him and just lays into everyone that he had just left. When he kind of skids around and turns, and he just sees Balthazar just on the ground, no arm attached to his body anymore. Like a feeling of panic kind of sinks into his stomach. But he sprints back with his movement back towards the group, almost like sliding down onto his knees to make it next to him. And like just putting his arms, like one hand on Balthazar's chest, the other one like just becoming covered in blood as he puts the other hand on the stump where the arm used to be, and just like closes his eyes and like almost out of fear and desperation, but also somewhat of determination. Father, if there's any force you have, bless me with it now, that I might save my friend and your servant. Please, we cannot die out in these lands, not when your will is still... There's so much that has to be done. And there's just like a of energy. as he casts a level 2 cure wounds, just trying to stop uh, this blood and hope that he can stabilize his fallen friend. And that's going to be 17 8 gained. And hopefully that's enough to also stop the bleeding.
Yeah, it'll be enough to like close the wound. You'll see it like magically, like the first the like the veins and sinews or whatever stitch across in like hyper speed, and you can see it as if the father himself is like knitting the wound shut until finally scarless, perfect, just this like perfectly smooth gap where an arm should be but isn't. As you're doing that,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, once he sees it taking effect, like he would breathe a sigh of relief. But then I imagine he hears like a beat or something from this thing's wings, and he's reminded that it's still there. He's going to stand over Balthazar's body with his shield just up in both hands and brace himself.
You can hear this, and you can hear like this, like yip yip yip, and across. If you like turn, you'll see from the direction where Dormu was. There are 3 orcs on these smiling creatures, these hyenas, and they're like running towards quickly, and they are throwing javelins. And you think this is the end, but they sail past you and into the creature. 3 javelins hit into this thing, and it like takes an involuntary step back. It seems very, very light in its feet, like it could fall over at any second. Dormu is going to try and swing his sling at it one more time, which he actually does. But the thing remains standing. Garrock.
Once again, kind of making his way over to where Balthasar is fallen. He's going to loose another arrow from his short bow for a dirty 20.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay, so I've still got Hunter's Mark
Mark.
going. So it's 7 and 9 points this time around.
Oh shit, let me math. I think it's done. All right. The arrow sails through the air, and like among all the feathers and fur and blood and claw and wing, the arrow catches it right in the left eye. It goes up to the fletching, and this thing like stumbles around for a moment, lets out this final like, and then falls. Luckily, it does not fall on Vasco or on Balthazar. It falls onto the ground. The orcs are like yipping like crazy as they like run around you in a circle, and then they like run to protect Dormu. And that's where we're going to take a very quick break to go to the little girls' room, all that sort of stuff. You guys can also level up if you so wish.
Damn. Okay. Awesome.
That was brutal.
I'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, I am back. To all the people watching, hope you're enjoying. Yeah, I was like scrolling through pictures today, and I found this, and I was like, "This is a random encounter," and that's what I rolled. I just love this art. I love the fat little baby owlbear. It's my favorite thing. Just a no-brainer. Give them wings. I also think like that they are so much bigger and scarier, and like they're like CR4, I think, in the or 3 in the monster manual, and I was like, that's not enough. So I ramped it up. Because I find that if you don't give one monster legendary actions, players are just going to piss all over it. So I had to give it something.
I mean, you didn't have to give it something.
Well, what's the point in an encounter if there's no challenge? You know, like if it was just a normal owlbear, you guys would have just been like, lol, and like slashed it to bits.
No, I get it. I'm totally with you. I'm just being a salty
Salty.
member of a party who just got severely wrecked.
Well, you won.
I'm fine. I took no damage in that fight. Other people were less fortunate.
I like it. I had like a couple of different ones prepared, different animals you could like find out here, different monsters out in the, plus another couple of things. So like, it's great. I could reuse those in future sessions or whatever. But this is, I'm glad it was this one. Yeah, that was very unfortunate with Matt. Like I rolled a crit on the hit, and then I rolled a crit on the crit table, which is
Fact, yeah.
Jesus.
Crazy.
Yeah. Luckily we're in a world where there's something we can do about it. Like if this was Isclaf, he just would have been straight up dead. But
There would have
luckily
been no saving him. But
we have the power of clerics and
Yes.
all their OP glory.
All right, I don't get much. I just get Aura of Protection, which in fairness is pretty great.
that's amazing.
Bonus to saves.
Everyone gets it, right? Within
Yep,
10 feet of you.
Everyone within 10 feet of me.
Amazingly good.
It is good.
There's also a spell that you can pick up. I don't know if you get it with the kind of paladin that you are, but you can also get Aura of Vitality,
Yeah.
which is very nice.
Yeah, I don't think I get any extra slots or anything this level. I'll have to look. But
So you'll increase your max edge points, but you won't gain any hit points. You know what I mean?
yeah. I'm fine. It's like in some RPGs. I've got all my health back.
Oh, that was so much fun. Fucking owlbears. Yes.
That was great, man. It was bloody great.
That was great.
Never
So-
used one before. And I was like, if I'm going to have Matt in a game, I'm going to include it as an option somewhere in there. And that's what I rolled. So I'm really pleased.
It was amazing. I've not fought one in years.
Look at this fat baby owlbear. Look at the face on him. It's the best. I love it so much on my overlay here. The fat little baby. Oh, just great.
They don't usually fly, though, do they? That's
No,
like a
in
joy.
normal D&D, they are flightless.
Yeah, they don't have wings.
But I just thought like it would be such a terrifying step predator if it could fly. It would just be like this
It's perfect.
godlike alpha predator.
Godlike is true. Jesus, legendary. But awesome.
Yeah, can you imagine if a bear could fly?
Yeah, exactly.
What a horrible thought.
Yeah.
Now I'm
That's
not
terrifying.
So people in the chat were mentioning that Balthazar might now get a phantom arm, which is pretty.
That's what I was saying. He's got to ask
Interesting.
his patron to throw Banas new arm.
It's this like creepy ass orc, like panther arm.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's all like black and furry.
But he's got to work for it, though. We've got to
Oh,
go on
yeah.
a quest for it.
Yep. Oh yeah, there's no handouts.
Oh, Lloyd.
Nah, 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 nah.
Oh man, that was intense. I was
If only we
scared.
were like
And happy.
If only we were 8 levels higher, I might be able to give him an arm back, but we're a little bit of ways off of regeneration.
Regeneration. We're gonna go on a quest to get him a badass arm.
Yep.
I'm like so excited that owlbear fucked me up so bad.
Yeah, that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
What's average health again? It's 6, isn't it?
For D10 at 6, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot that we do average. Are we doing average, or you have a choice?
You can roll if you want to,
Okay.
but I just never take the risk.
I'm not gonna risk it. I'm gonna just take the average.
Leveling in the middle of a session too. Good God.
I know it's
Yeah.
good, great man. I'm
So,
done.
I know you said we're not. Yeah. I know you said we're not gaining hit points, but are we adding the hit points that we gain max to our current? Like we won't heal, but like if we got new HP, are we counting that as our current HP as well?
So you have no damage on you, right?
I mean, I have a couple of residual points from before,
Okay.
but almost none. Yeah.
No, just increase your max, and you'll go back to full when you take a long rest.
Okay, so we're not gaining the hit points as
Yeah.
current HP, even the
Just
ones
the-
that were included to our max. So we're okay.
So you're just going to increase your max HP, which is what you get from leveling up. You're not going to gain any hit points because you haven't rested or anything.
So, I'm wondering if I have a greater favorite enemy that I just gained at 6th. And I'm wondering what kind of creature that they are.
That is called a Sky Terror or a Thunderbird or where it depends on the tribe you're in. But you can write down owlbear. They're uncommon, but they're a problem when you get closer to the mountains. And when you go across the mountains, that's definitely where you would. You mean like what category?
Yeah, like it lists specific kinds. So
Monstrosity, isn't it?
Probably a monstrosity. Yeah. What are the?
Okay.
Is it still magical beasts? Is that still a thing?
yeah, the choices that I have are aberrations, celestials, constructs, dragons, elementals, fiends, or giants. So it probably won't be applicable.
Okay.
Okay.
It's probably a monstrosity.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, go through that list again for me. I didn't quite catch them all.
Aberrations, celestials, constructs, dragons, elementals, fiends, or giants.
Okay. Yeah, it's none of those.
Okay. Try to figure out something that kind of makes sense from that list then.
Yeah. If you want to wait until you encounter something that's in that category, that's fine because you don't know necessarily. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like favorite enemy happens when you encounter something and you discover something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's a learned thing.
Right. That's why I was asking about them.
Yeah,
I thought it would be
yeah.
kind of a cool time to make that
For
choice.
sure.
Okay, cool.
I'm fine with you picking like monstrosity as one if it's not in the options there. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Okay. Yeah, then I'll do that because it makes really good sense.
Yeah.
Given the timing.
For sure. So you these orcs have like been running around you guys on their smilers. Like one of them has gone off and rounded up your horses and he's brought them back. The horses are like freaking the hell out because they're near one of these hyena creatures. And they've settled in around Dormu, who's like the orc who was helping you there. One of them pads forward. He's bigger than the others. He has this skull over the top of his head, like on top of his head, like a ram's skull with these curved horns, and this like bone armor over his chest and his arms. And he like rides forward, pads forward. Not good. Fight Sky Terror.
Vasco just looks at this creature and he just says, "Oh, fuck off." And he takes the bottle of wine that he has, and with his teeth, he pulls the cork out, takes a big swig of it. You can still see blood's like pouring out of the gaps of his armor. And then he just falls to his knees next to Balthazar and just pushes the bottle to his lips and just starts basically feeding him alcohol for the pain. He says, "This is your plan all along, wasn't it? To get my wine too."
Garak is going to kind of woozy and kind of teetering on his legs a little. He kind of calls Tuvarak over and kind of leans across the thing's back. And he says, I have heard of these beasts before, but I have never come across one. We did what we could to help your friend. And he kind of nods his chin towards Dormu before he spits up some blood on the ground.
This big orc turns around and looks at Dormu, who like nods, and he says to you in Orcish, "Why are you standing so close to it? It is big and has big claws. You should throw spears. You should not stand close to it. It seems like an obvious solution."
As I said, this is the first time we've ever faced one before. Maybe
Oh, you are
next
not a
time
baby.
but
Surely you can see that it is dangerous.
This is
I
true.
threw spears.
So this is an orc, Vasco, sorry.
Oh, of course, I wouldn't understand. My bad.
He says, "Your companions are wounded. Why do you spend time with men?"
We seek to stop a very foolish thing that is going to happen that will lead to a lot of unnecessary bloodshed.
There will be bloodshed, yes. And their wall will be ash. That is what the Blackfeather has said. And we obey. We have to. And we have to take you with us. He will want to speak with these men.
You are a Ramhorn and you take your orders from Blackfeather?
Maybe the world seems simple to you. What tribe are you? And he like looks and he's finding it hard to see.
I am tribeless. My people forsook me.
Then the world would be easy for you. You don't know. They have come with many warriors, and they have demanded that we serve, that or die. And our Driecht, our Akron, they decided.
If they came with enough numbers to bend the knee of Ramhorn, then we are facing a travesty.
He
And I think
nods. Go
I
ahead.
think at that point, Garak probably actually falls over backwards. Probably unconscious.
Yeah, the orc kind of like looks, and you can see that he like Diego. You would see him wrinkle his nose in like disgust at like the weakness. He would like look around and see that you're the only one standing, basically. And he would say, "You, we take you to camp. You speak with Dricht. You speak with Akran."
Can you give me one moment? I can help. And he kind of points to Dormu and to his party members. I can help first. Just need a little bit of time.
He sits back in his saddle. He like puts his finger in his ear and like flicks something. I wait.
And Diego is going to again go through the process of casting a prayer of healing, assuming that the orcs will actually let him once he starts doing it.
Yeah, you can see that two of them have gone to the Sky Tower and they're taking trophies from it. They're going through the process of taking claws and like the laborious process of trying to take the beak. But you will see that when they take like the largest claw on the arm that was badly injured, like they take it and they move it over to Garrock and they place it into one of his packs. And then they go through the process of like stripping it for meat and all this sort of stuff. The two of them in this team taking what they can carry. They don't seem to be looking at you necessarily. The other one, the bigger one, is watching you, but he hasn't said anything.
And so Diego's gonna again kind of go through this laborious process, scratching in the dirt and the grass on the ground, until eventually, after he's done enough, the similar process, casting prayer of healing, he's going to include himself and his party members, and also Dormu and his mount, all within this spell.
Okay.
And that's actually going to be 24 points of healing for everybody.
Nice. Holy moly.
After all that happened, I'm almost back up to full.
Good God.
I think Vasco is going to mutter a few words under his breath, and he presses his mace into the ground, his shield in the other, and gives a few quiet words to the father as he expends some of his own lay on hands to take him back to full.
Baltazar is laying there on the ground, and the last thing he remembers was the owlbear landing in front of him. And he doesn't really remember anything after that. He remembers feeling the ground leave his feet, and he remembers the searing pain that ripped through his chest. And then he remembers a familiar darkness, this inky darkness that he's been in before, and this endless void where it's hard to tell what's up and what's down. And he remembers seeing a panther prowling just outside of his vision. And then he would hear the prayer that Diego said over him. And these words they sounded very distant. And then he was back. And he's sort of laying there on the grass now with his eyes open, breathing heavily, sweat shining on his face, dried blood all over him. And he kind of looks to his right and sees that his arm is gone. And he looks at the nearest person, which would probably be Diego or Vasco, with just a look of horror on his face. The last time he was brought back, he came back pretty much whole. This time he really is half a man. And he's in complete shock.
Vasco puts a hand on your chest as you instinctively, I guess, lurch upwards, arcing your back to like look at what's happened to you. And he just basically stops you from getting up, and he just says, "Breathe, dead man. Breathe again."
He would look over at Diego, and then he would look back to you, Vasco, and say, "He should have let me die. I'm no good to you like this. I'm no good to anyone."
Don't believe that's in the brother's philosophy, is it, Diego? And he looks at you, the cleric.
And Diego looks over to you, Baltazar, almost with like a pained expression. It was all I could do to stop the bleeding, but I couldn't do anything about the arm. I'm sorry.
No time. The orc grunts. No time. Enough time.
Tell that
Gerard.
green fuck that if he opens his mouth again, I'm going to put him through.
That I am not going to translate. Garrock says, kind of sitting up painfully, leaning onto one of his elbows, where he sees that they're field dressing this Sky Terror. He kind of points and he says, "The heart is mine. The beak is his." And he pulls his thumb towards Balthazar. "The rest you can have."
We gave you the best claw.
He took his arm. He deserves something.
Well, you can have something. You want the heart. And he's like up to his elbows in the carcass of this thing. And he's like reaching around, and there's like the two of them have to work together to like smash this like flint blade against the sternum until finally there's like a and they like pull apart. And he like reaches in and he's like working. He's literally like the half of his body is inside this carcass. So finally he pulls out this like football-sized heart. Is like blood up to his shoulders and all over his face and chest. And he like walks across to you and hands it to you. You killed the Sky Terror. No tribe. Impressive.
It was not without some help and some cost. He kind of sits up a little further and takes the heart, and then he takes it in both of his hands and just places it up to his face and just takes an entire mouthful as he just bites this chunk out of this really tough, leathery organ and just kind of pulls it backwards, again with this one lion fang that's replaced his own bottom canine. And as he's chewing it, he turns towards Balthazar and holds it out to him. And he says, "Ulta, this is for strength. You should take some."
Balthazar actually kind of lurches forward and shoves it away. Enough. I've had it with this orcish bullshit.
Orcish bullshit? You mean the magic that brought you back from the land of the dead?
Yeah, that brought me back the first time, and look where I am now. I shouldn't have been brought back then. I shouldn't have been brought back now.
But you have been.
And I'm as good as dead out here, Garok, and you know that. I lost my sword arm.
You lost an arm. You still have everything else. I will be your arm. As I have been your legs before. As I have been your eyes before.
Then I'm just dead weight.
Not. Then you are weight that I will bear. You would rather just lay out here and whine until you die? Until another one of those things comes along and eats you while you are helpless? On your back?
I mean, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound that nice. But no, I just...
Then for strength. And he shoves the heart kind of in his face again. Even if you do not like the idea of the power, it is rich in the things you need to heal.
Balthazar, I know it's tough to understand exactly what's happened now. You've lost quite a lot. But I've seen what you can do, and even if it's magic that I can barely stand to watch, it's powerful. A sword arm is a tough thing to lose, but I know you, and I know that there is much more that you can contribute than a blade. I know you can provide a lot more to us than that, and we need you. It's just the three of us against, what, a horde? We need every man, no matter what.
Let him be angry. Poor fucker's just had his arm torn off.
And he like kicks his mount forward a little bit, and he like looks down at the conversation. No time, we go.
Vasco's jaw clenches, being interrupted by this thing. These scavengers are playing on his nerves.
I look at Vasco. We need to move. We don't have another fight in us right now. I don't have another fight in me.
Vasco just presses his own wine bottle into your chest once again. You needed more than me. And he goes to find his horse that was brought back to them.
The orcs have tied each horse to one of their mounts. They've made a litter or like a sled type thing for Dormu's mount, and then together you can ride with very little chance of getting away on one of those horses. The orcs are like chatting excitedly amongst themselves. They've got a lot of meat with them, which they seem very pleased about. And they've taken various trophies, although they do speak excitedly about the tribeless one who killed this thing, and they'll speak excitedly to you for much of the journey, Garrock, asking questions like how you have no tribe, and how did you kill this thing if you have no family and no tribe, and that kind of thing. Journey goes on for about half a day until you can see in the distance maybe 10 or so tents that have been set up. Big tents, more like a yurt, I suppose you would say, fairly solid. And all around there are like cattle and goats and sheep and that kind of thing as well.
Garak is still not feeling fantastic, but he is in the saddle again, and has kind of calmed Tuvarok somewhat. And he's trying his best to just kind of take in as much as he can, especially potential escape routes as they're kind of riding into this camp.
Yeah, you can see that there are no walls. It's not a permanent settlement at all. You think that this could be packed up in the space of half a day and they could all be underway. You do notice as well that there are several animals here that are unknown to you, obviously from the mountains as well. You and the Lion's Paw would have had a permanent settlement. These are obviously nomads. They have these very, very large gray-skinned animals that have like a horn type protrusion at the end of their snout. They stand maybe 10 feet at the shoulder, very, very large. Definitely an unusual sight to see. And they're kind of just grazing calmly on the way into this camp. He like brings you through the camp, and you can see that there's a couple of orcs like working, like napping at flint outside one of these tents, and they like look up at the men as they pass and like mutter to each other. There are kids playing in the street, 3 little orc children, and they're like playing, and one of them has a stick, and he like runs up to you, Diego. He like starts smacking you in the shin with it, and he's like shouting an orc like "man, man, man," and his mother runs out after him and like grabs him and pulls him back, and she like gives out to him. And as you like continue, the kids like make faces at you, like sticking out their tongues and like making faces at these like gross men in their midst. Finally, they bring you to like this particular large tent at the top of a hill, and they tell you to dismount. He says, "Weapons. No one goes to speak to Driocht and Akron with weapons."
Is he saying this in Orcish?
He's saying it in English or in the nation speech.
Oh, okay. Nice. Good. Garak doesn't have to translate that.
Thank God.
You put weapons here, no one touches.
Get fucked.
Do not understand. You want to fuck me. We do not have such in our culture.
How'd you explain him? He nods ahead at the half-breed.
One of ours and one of yours.
He is refusing to give up his weapon.
Oh, you cannot refuse. And he like looks over his shoulder, and there's like maybe 100 orcs in this settlement. And he looks back. Weapons on the ground.
Garak is already like disarming himself, and he kind of looks to the other two. One of you really should talk to him about this.
Balthazar kind of reaches to his scabbard, and then, realizing that his sword isn't there anymore, he will reach into his boot and pull out a dagger, and he'll just sort of fling it to the ground, stabbing it into the ground.
Good.
And Diego will take the mace from his belt loop and lay it gently on the ground before taking a dagger off of his side as well and laying it next to it. Apprehensively, kind of looking at it, like concerned for a moment before like standing up and taking a couple steps away.
I want assurances of our safety. It is not our custom to drop our weapons so easily, Orc.
Are you safe in here? No fighting intent.
Vasco just stares at him, unsure whether to believe him or not.
Weapon on floor.
He takes his great sword, puts it on the ground, takes his mace, puts it on the ground. He leaves his javelins and a dagger in his boot and his shield on his arm.
So he leaves the javelins.
Yeah, he leaves his javelins on his back because he thinks he might get away with that, and he leaves his shield
On ground.
Vasco just looks at him again, just thunder in his eyes, and then he
You cannot take spear intent.
drops the shield, drops the javelins, keeps the dagger in his boot, hopes they don't say anything.
They don't.
Good.
Enter. So the tent before you, the flap opens, and you can enter into it. It's quite spacious, quite comfortable. There are like rugs and furs all over the floor. There's like a low table, and sitting at it are two orcs. One of them is probably the biggest male orc that you've seen. You haven't seen that many. He's large, larger than any that you would have seen so far. And like much more furred than the others that you've seen, like thick sort of body hair. And he's sitting cross-legged at this table. He like you can get the smell of this like metallic smelling stew. And he's got like a cup of fermented milk next to him as well. And then across from him is sitting an orc female. She seems to be a little bit older than he is. Striking. You wouldn't say beautiful because you're not orcs, but you would, Garak. And she has like this fairly complicated headdress on her. And she's like currently drinking from a bowl, which she puts down. And she turns to look. The big orc is like just glaring, and you can see him like wrinkle his nose and like begin to show his teeth. And then she puts out a hand and he calms.
Is there a chance for me to just mutter to the other three that are with me?
Yep.
Okay. He's going to kind of lean where he can do so politely, and he's going to tell them, the woman is the Dryok. She's the spiritual leader. She has likely great magics. And he is the Akron, he's the warlord. He's very powerful, I would guess. This should be a respectful situation. And he kind of levels his gaze at Vasco.
If it's to be respectful, then announce us, half-breed.
do not know that that is their custom, but if you wish it.
The woman looks up and she says, Kenwa Atsa Bukal, to you, Garok, which is, what tribe are you, boy?
In Orcish, she says, Yanatsiki Dege. And he says, I do not have a people.
That cannot be, we are all of a people.
I had the people once, but well, they killed my mother, who was the Dryad, and they banished me.
She touches a finger to her forehead and then spits onto the ground, as does the large orc next to her. Lion Paw. They broke the order laid down by the Skyfather. Curse upon the head of that orc who would break our sacred ways so profanely. Great shame upon Lion Paw.
Yes, and if I have the chance, I will one day wear his tusks around my neck.
We can hope. And she switches then to the language of the nation, and she speaks it fairly well. What has you in these lands? Dangerous for pigskins to come here, no? Dangerous especially now with Blackfeathers.
Did she say that in the nation's
Yes.
tongue?
Yep.
Vasco just stares and then says, pigskins.
Yes, we have skin like all animals. You have skin like pig.
You have the skin of a mutant.
Ah, so this is how it will be.
We were told to speak with you. What have you to say?
Ah, not us. I have no interest in your dealings. But we have to take any men that we find on our lands here and keep them until the Blackfeathers come. We have stopped here. They're supposed to come in the next week.
Might I ask what Blackfeathers usually do with those who are captured and brought before them?
You are the first that we have captured. No men are stupid enough to come this far.
I am starting to understand why.
It will not be the whole tribe, you understand. It will be one of them. An emissary.
I see.
Is this how you repay those who help your kin?
You have helped our kin? You?
Your weasel of a scout. His mount was badly wounded by what you call a sky terror, and we defended him. Against my better judgment, admittedly, but defend him we did. And you repay us by waiting for your betters to descend? Are you so easily ensorcelled by these black-feathered cunts?
He did not make you save him. That was your choice. If it was his time to die, he would be dead. The Skyfather did not will it so.
The day is still early, Orc.
I find it amusing that you make threats. There are 3 of you. One of you has only 1 arm. There are hundreds of us here. Do you think that if you continue to make threats that I'll become afraid? The Akron here could kill all of you.
Balthazar speaks low under his breath. I find it amusing too, Lord Commander. Kind of like looks pointedly at you.
So we have a week, is what you're telling me. Before
About a week. These things are never precise. It's impossible with the size of the Great Step.
Then you underestimate us. and you underestimate the power of the Father.
No, the Sky Father is all powerful. I know this.
Different Father, Orc.
Oh, your father. He is important in your culture?
He is supreme, and he saved the life of your wretched kin. Brother
Are you-
Diego saw to this.
You are a prince?
I am a lord.
Your father is supreme.
I know you're not blessed with an overabundance of intelligence, but listen to me very carefully. If you are to help these Blackfeathers, then that aligns you with them, and that puts you in our sights. Choose your allegiances carefully, Orc.
Do you think that we want to be here, that we want to be waiting for these Blackfeathers? No, but we have a wolf by the ears. We cannot let him go. We have to hold onto him, or he will devour us. There's nothing that we can do. They are close. You are far away. You never come into our lands. You never give help. This help that you say you give. I have no intent on harming you, and I do not think the Blackfeather does either. You will stay as guests.
Then as guests, I require my weapons returned.
You cannot have them. You cannot have them. You are too aggressive. You have proven that time and time again in this short conversation. You are incapable of keeping your temper in check, and you will not have your weapons back.
Oh, I'm keeping my temper in check, Orc.
You're doing a very bad job of it.
You have no idea.
A younger orc female comes into the room with an orc male of approximately the same age. Let's see where they go. Move you over here and move. Yeah. Oh god. Overlay business. Do that. So these two walk in, and this Driocht says in Orcish, Esan, and that's Dormu. Dormu, you will take care of these. You owe them a debt, Dormu, and you will ensure that they will be fed, and they will not want for anything while they are here until the Blackfeather comes. Dormu looks like humiliated and furious. His wife also not too happy with the situation.
Garak kind of nods. Actually, he kind of bows, not quite prostrating himself forehead to the ground, but pretty close before the two heads of the tribe. And then he kind of turns towards Dormu, and he says that we will enjoy your hospitality, and it will be appreciated, though perhaps less by some.
You can tell your friend that the next time he makes a threat, I will take one of his fingers.
Very well. He turns to Vasco, and he says, "Our host has given a warning. If your tongue remains out of check, he intends to take one of your fingers, and I would believe that he would do it."
Is this how they treat their guests usually?
Usually their guests do not have quite as sharp of a tongue, I think.
Lord Commander, if an orc were to be a guest in our lands, they'd be in manacles already. Let's count our blessings. We have a week. We can make do with that.
Again, your words have merit, dead man. And he gives a exaggerated nod of Fair enough. To the chief, to the orc that addresses them.
Yeah. The woman seems to be in charge. This older orc female. Everyone takes their cues from her, including the enormous orc who is sitting here. He hasn't spoken once. He's let out a few sort of low growls, but no, other than that, nothing really. He does speak now. He speaks to Dormu, although you can understand Garok. He says, "At the first sign of trouble, you will find me, and I will deal with them. There will be no problem here. If they give you hassle, if they are disrespectful, if they threaten you in any way, you will let me know, and I will eat that one's heart." And then the Driocht, like the female, turns to him with this look of like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," like as if it's like a playful sort of like, "Oh, come on," and he like smiles, and there's this like vicious toothed smile on him.
Vasco makes a mental note to kill him one day.
With that, it seems you're dismissed. Dormu and Asa, these two orcs, they will lead you outside towards their tent, and they'll kind of speak to you, Gara, quietly, and they'll say, "We'll do whatever we can to keep you fed and happy while you are here. Though we have work to do, we cannot stay with you always. And you must know that if you cause any trouble, it is not us who will do the punishing. It's the Akran, and he does not like men at all."
Yes, I understand. I can vouch for my own behavior, and I will certainly try for the others that traveled with me.
It would be a great shame if something bad were to happen here. It's not what we're hoping for.
The same is for me.
So they lead you through this this camp to a smallish tent where they live. You'll be able to find a little bit of floor space. There's like carpets and furs laid out. Again, a sort of small table. There's a little stove, sort of cooking area. And there is something currently on there being cooked. What it is, you're not too sure. There's also a kid in here, maybe 10, orc. This is the one of the kids who had like come up to you, Diego, and had like given you a bunch of shit, and now like looks surprised and then like afraid as you guys enter the tent, and like runs to the back of the tent and like pulls up one of the covers and hides.
The rock goes to the rock's pack and produces the claw that he was given from the owlbear, and he carries it into the tent. In orcish culture, like, is there a specific person in the household who cooks usually?
I don't think so. I think it's 50-50.
He kind of carries it over to where the meal looks like it would be prepared, and he kind of offers it and says, "I know it is not much, but with the extra mouths to feed, hopefully it will help some. If I can, I will take the claws first, and the rest you can have for your family."
Thank you. We have plenty. We have cattle and sheep and all the rest. But thank you anyway. And like they sit down and start like stirring the pot, and they're kind of like small talking. No, Jeff, none of you are giving your stuff back because of the loud mouthedness of Vasco. It's being kept somewhere. And so there's small talk between the orcs. The three of you are now like sitting, I imagine, in your armor, like in this little tent. Like the roof's a little bit low, and you're kind of sitting there sullenly as they cook. Eventually, they bring you bowls of this stew. It smells meaty and rich, a little bit metallic. You think it's probably cooked with blood, partially. There's definitely milk in there of some kind as well, but you think it's probably very nutritious.
Balthazar would sit in the nearest available seat, and if there wasn't any seats or chairs or benches or anything, he would just sort of sit on the ground, and he would slowly start to undo the buckles of his armor, basically doffing his armor with one arm, and it's a lengthy process as he pulls off the pieces and sort of slowly taking the plates off and eventually revealing the tunic underneath, unbuttoned down to his chest, and you can see the hint of this like grisly scar right on his chest where his heart would be. And he sort of rubs that a little bit with his good arm, and then rubs at the stump of his right arm, and sort of like leans back, fully unarmored, and just kind of closes his eyes, resting.
Is there anything you guys would like to do before you take a sleep, or will you take a sleep?
I think Garak probably would. It might take him a little while. He wants to make sure that Tuvarak is going to be safe and well cared for wherever he's left. That the saddle is taken off and he's brushed down, fed and watered before he'll actually settle in for the night. But he will eventually. He probably passes out.
Yeah. Tuvarak seems to have a great time. Like, he's brought into the enclosure with the rest of the smilers. All of the other animals are kind of running free, the cattle, the sheep, and stuff like that. But the smilers, these large hyena mounts, are kept in like a paddock of some kind so that they don't eat all of the other animals. But they're like taken well care of. There's like 6 or 7 orcs here who are like watching them, playing with them, like working on training the younger ones and stuff like that. He seems to enjoy it immediately and like fits in quickly.
I think Vasco would sit down, stubborn and really annoyed, really frustrated at the situation. His instinct is that if he ever gets away from this place, he's going to go straight back to Last Light, summon the Pride, gather as many troops as possible, and lay waste to this entire section of the wilderness. And he makes an effort to keep his eyes open, but from the exhaustion of the battle, the adrenaline, he's exhausted and eventually falls asleep.
Yeah, I think a similar situation. Well, much less anger, but similar caution. Diego would like be trying to keep himself up and going, like not necessarily wanting everybody in their group to be asleep in this place, but eventually, I don't think he would be able to muster it after all that's happened. They've been traveling all day and had a huge battle, and eventually, similarly, exhaustion would take him as well.
And so you sleep. It's warm and comfortable. You have these like sheep skin blankets that you can pull over yourself. It's the nicest sleep you've had in a couple of days anyway. The orcs are excellent hosts. There's no hassle from them. But you wake up in the night, Balthazar, and you like can see that there's like a mist rolled into the camp. You wake up quite suddenly and you like reach for your arm and it's no longer there. And you can see like your companions sleeping. You can see the orcs sleeping. They've slept so that it's the husband, then the wife, then the child, in that order, facing away from you. And you can like see this strange mist, and you're like a little bit confused. And there's like a weird noise permeating this like strange sort of noise coming from outside.
Balthazar would sit up. He would probably be dreaming about the ground going away beneath him and that searing pain in his chest. So he's drenched in sweat as he wakes up. And as he gets his bearings and he sees the mist and he hears that noise, he very quietly, very carefully stands up and sort of stumbles out of the tent into the night air, both to investigate the sound, but also to get some fresh air. With that many bodies inside that tent, it's got to be hot and stuffy and humid. So he stumbles out into the night air.
Yeah, you can get a breath and feel the cold air on your sweating skin. And as you kind of like look up, You can see yourself standing there, this like smoky image of yourself, but with an arm. And it moves as you move, like a perfect mirror to every movement that you make. And you can hear that noise still, this.
What is this? Who are you?
Once I saved you. And you can see like through the shape of your reflection comes this face, this like elongated but definitely human-ish face. It's got this like muzzle, sort of like a predatory cat would have, and these golden eyes. And it comes out, and there's this long neck that follows it, too long, that's followed by the muscled form of a predatory cat. And it like walks around you once and then walks into the mist, and it appears up in the air, perched atop some sort of invisible place. Once I saved you, I can do so again.
Under his breath, Balthazar would say an orcish word that he just knows instinctively, which translates to the smoking mirror. It's you.
You have been through much, my child. Much suffering. You are broken now. I can heal you.
The last time you healed me, I came back half the man I was. I've lived a nightmare since then. Hated by my own people, exiled by my family. I own no lands, no titles, no money to my name. I don't even have a sword anymore. The first time cost too much. What is it going to take this time?
You have no titles, but you have a life.
Such as it is.
I require a thing. A trifling thing. You are far from it now. But in the jungles, there is a thing that I want. A trifling thing. As it says that, it moves again into the smoke and then appears right next to you. This like long head and like neck like moves from the body to like face you. A gem. And the head is like fully sideways. A gem. In a temple. In the deep, dark jungle.
Balthazar takes a staggering step backwards to put some distance between himself and the smoking mirror. A gem. What use do you have for a gem? You're a god.
I say, a trifling thing. I have a fondness for this gem. A red gem. A blood gem. There are people. Snake and man and snake and snake and snake. You will find them. And you will take the gem. And when you take it, you will give it to me. And I will make you whole again. I will give you such power.
If I take this gem from its resting place in the jungle, you'll make me whole again.
Yes, my child.
How do I find it?
A place where 3 rivers meet. A pyramid with steps. And when the moon shines, the reflection shows a snake going down those steps. It is easy to find. The gem will be easy to find at the center of this temple, this pyramid. The snake men, snake. They will not be a problem for you, my child. You are mighty.
I was mighty. Now, as you said, I'm broken. I will do this thing. Or I will die trying. Either way, has to be better than this.
You will not fail me. You are a good and useful son of mine. My favorite son. You will not fail me.
If you say so.
Wake. And you wake up.
Again, drenched in sweat, for real this time. And I lay there for a few moments, just with the weight of this bearing down on me, this knowledge that I am in way too deep. And I would stand up and I would begin. Is it dawn yet or before dawn?
Just before dawn.
I would begin gathering my things, putting my armor on, gathering my pack with the rations and my water skin, basically visibly getting ready to leave.
As you take your morning drink and you uncork the cork from your water skin, there's this of smoke that comes out just before you take your drink.
I would sort of shake my head, take a big long drink, and continue putting my armor on.
The orcs would wake not long after you, kind of hearing you rustle around and the clink of armor and things like that. And they would set to making a morning meal, willing to feed all of you. And as the morning goes on, you'll start to wake up, all of you, well rested, comfortable. Nothing has happened to you. The orcs haven't touched you. And then as you're kind of eating that morning meal, whether you like it or not, you are starving. There's a sound. And then some boom, 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 of approaching music.
What is this new threat we face? Vasco directs to the half-breed.
Is this anything that he would be familiar with?
I think you might have heard that some of the showier tribes would do this when they arrive, to herald their arrival. Lion's Paw would never do it. And you think most of the tribes around here wouldn't do it either. It's very ostentatious, but to play music as you arrive is kind of a welcoming thing.
It is not a custom that I think they normally follow, which does not bode well for us, I think.
Vasco follows Balthazar's lead. He's making sure he's going to be armored. He's not going to be walking around without protection. So he finishes doffing and gets ready to look outside.
Yeah, so you can put on your armor, all of you. And by the time you come outside, you will see one of those creatures, one of those really big creatures that I talked about, nearly 10 foot at the shoulder, this strange, like, two-pronged horn at the front where its nose is, grey skin. This one has been painted with exquisite detail. Half of it is black and the other half is like striped yellow and green and red and all these different colors, with like dots and swirls. Very, very intricate. And on its back is a howdah, like a sort of little box, like a little box, and in it is sitting an orc, a black orc. He has black skin, black hair. He has these wings coming up from behind him, like a ceremonial sort of wing. And you would recognize this Garrick immediately as a Blackfeather, or like a black eagle. He's sitting in the back of this thing, and you can see that like the two orcs that you came to speak to yesterday are like standing outside, and they're like smiling and being polite. They have a brief conversation in Orcish, in which the orc, the black orc who's visiting, is dismissive in almost every way possible. And the orcs who live here are submissive. Finally, they say, "We have a gift for you. We have men. We have found them." And he goes, "Oh, interesting. Where are they?" And the Akron points, and behind, he turns around to see the four of you.
What kept you?
He like leans forward, and he climbs out of the thing. He has this strange mask. I'll get rid of these dudes, Jesus. He has a strange mask that he pulls off just as he gets off, of a hound. And he steps forward. You you think to question me? That's interesting. Very interesting. I'm early, in fact. What are you doing here, men, beyond your last light?
Vasco's going to look around just in case any of the others wants to say anything, because they probably know how he's going to respond.
Balthazar would actually step forward as sort of Vasco is moving to step forward. Balthazar would sort of step in front of him. A settlement, a fort of ours was attacked. Everyone there killed. We're simply scouts ascertaining what happened. That's all.
Yes, you call it Oxbow. We killed everyone there.
So it was on the orders of your clan that
Yes.
happened.
Yes, it was. Oxbow is within Orc lands, and you are not welcome in Orc lands.
There were many, many people there. Not all of them warriors, but you killed all of them all the same and desecrated their bodies.
All of them. Not Orc. We will not have your filth on our lands, our sacred lands. Our spirits rest uneasy because of the trampling footsteps of men and iron and steel. We will have it no longer. So says the great Khan.
The great Khan.
He is the Sky Father made manifest. He is chosen by him. And he has decreed that your kind are no longer welcome in our lands, or on this earth. Your lands shall be ash and dust. Your children will die, and your elders will die, and your warriors, and your women, and only the orc shall remain.
So
Big plans.
So the Black Eagle intend to take over all of these lands, because Oxbow Keep does not lie on Black Eagle lands.
It lies in orc lands. That is what is important. It did. It is no longer there. The people are dead. Next will be Last Light, and then further into your lands. He has decreed it, and the Sky Father cannot be wrong. He has given us great power, and so we have subdued the other tribes.
This great Khan, he claims to speak for the Sky Father.
He does, and if you saw him, you would know. It is true. He has led us in many battles. He is invincible, a genius. He has even spoken and defeated the orcs of the jungle.
So then, let us live, so that we may carry this message back to Last Light.
Interesting. Maybe I will. I cannot send you home once. And then he looks at your arm. You are scarred already. But it must be all of you, not just one of you. You must bear a mark and show them. He reaches into his quiver behind him and takes out an arrow and just he hands it to you. You can show this to whoever you consider a chieftain. War is coming for your people. Annihilation. From here, from the depths of the jungle, from everywhere, the drums of the orcs sound.
I am holding this broken arrow, and I would look back at Vasco as I'm saying this, kind of like, almost like I'm speaking to the orc, but I'm saying it to Vasco. I would say, then if you wish for men to quake and fear the orc, then we will be on our way to carry this back to Last Light.
He smiles and his teeth pull back and you can see his canine teeth very, very sharp. He sucks a bit of meat from between two of them. Can't quite get it, and he gets his finger in there and pulls it out and then flicks it onto your armor. You have been scarred already. The message is clear. He looks at you, Diego. You seem unblemished by your travels into the lands of the orc. It cannot be that you return so.
He is blessed by our God.
You have no god. There is only the Sky Father.
He bears the power of our God.
All power comes from the Sky Father. Maybe he gives it to your god.
Not all power comes from the Sky Father. There are other gods your people worship.
This is true. You know better than most.
I've spent much time in your lands, spoken with my companion here. I'll indicate Garok. I know of your gods.
Even so, it cannot be that you return unharmed from our lands. It would not do. It would not be right.
If I were not here, and he would kind of point towards Dormu, he would be scarred, and his beast would be dead. With my power, I believe to come from my god, I have made sure that he can return unblemished. It seems in even favor that I might return the same.
What cares the great Khan for one life when there are millions that beck at his call? This one is weak if he is injured. If he should have died in the plain, then he should have died on the plain. We expect no kindness from you, and you should expect none from us.
This scarring you speak of, is it you? Are you the one to do this?
Would you prefer it was someone else?
Why no, I invite you freely. But do not approach us thinking that we are undefended. Our Father, he protects us, I assure you. And there is a completely detectable air of make your fucking move, mate, in Vasco's gaze. He's ready.
So Diego's gonna kind of put a hand onto Vasco's shoulder, trying hopefully to stop him. This message is too important not to bear. If you fetch me my dagger, I'll do it myself. I don't need you to cut me.
You will make the mark wrong. Or I can show you in the dirt, and you can copy it. But if you do not get it right, I will make another.
Do I know of this mark that he's speaking of?
This is weird. This is like not something you'd have seen orcs do before. It's like super, yeah. It's like new school. It's weird. It's really aggressive, really like domineering, and that's not usually the way that tribes interact with each other. Even tribes like Black Eagle, who would be maybe traditionally more aggressive, like it's not the way they interact with each other. He pulls his sort of long curved blade from his scabbard and he draws into the dirt this symbol. A straight line down and 6 lines on each side of it, the feather. You will cut that into your cheek.
Brother, do not defame your face with a mark of this heathen.
You will cut it too.
You can fucking make me.
He like looks over his shoulder and then back. I can if you wish. It will hurt more.
If the Father tests me with a sacrifice, a blemish on my cheek is a small burden to bear. Fetch me my dagger and I'll do so. I have to do it with my own blade.
He shakes his head and pulls a small jade dagger from his hip and hands it to you. And as you go to take it, he like holds onto it for a second. His eyes lock with yours. He has predator's eyes. You can see he's like golden eyes, like a predatory cat. And then let's go.
The Rock
And Diego
he kind of weakly offers Diego. He just kind of says, "Brother Diego, if you wish, it need not be your hand."
If it were any other hand, I couldn't bear it. If this is going to be done, it will be done by no one else but me. He's going to kind of like look over the knife, kind of wincing in anticipation. He kind of just bows his head for a moment, eyes closed. Father, Consider this a sacrifice, a burden I bear, so that your will can be done in the future. And then he'll take it before drawing it down in a line across his cheek the whole way down, and then 6 marks, fletchings of the feather. Kind of wincing, but keeping a stern face nonetheless, resolute. Kind of just wiping at the blood that begins to pour down, just flicking it off of his hand onto the dirt, biting his lip to try to keep a stern face.
I must ensure that the scar forms properly, if you'll allow. And he reaches out a hand towards your face.
What will you do?
Magic.
Diego stops at that. A concerned expression clearly forming on his face. I've cut it well enough. It seems no need for such a thing.
I know the false god that you call father will hide that scar when you leave, and there will be no mark. I have seen it before. I have seen things that your people can do. I will not have you go back there with no mark.
Touch him and you die.
Make a move then.
You first. And he grins.
He looks over his shoulder and he gestures, and 10 large male orcs come over, including the Akran, and they stand by his side. They look uncomfortable, but they're not disobeying.
Vasco's fingers twitch. Sorry, go ahead.
If I intended to hide the mark, I would have no reason to do it in the first place.
You would have
This is
every
a burden
reason
I
to
really
show me
bear.
that you are making the mark, and then you will leave, and you will use your foul sorceries to hide it. I will not have it. Now you will let me touch your face and use my magic to show the scar, or you will die.
I can ensure that it's shown well enough on my own, if you'll allow.
I will not.
Why not?
I do not trust you. Your people lie.
All people lie.
Your people
Yours
lie.
as well.
I can make them hold you.
Fine.
He takes a step forward and he lifts his clawed hand towards your face. He closes his eyes for half a second, opens them again, and they have changed color. They've gone fully black. And he reaches out the hand and just briefly touches your cheek, and there's a tss. And the rest of you can see that it is fully scarified. He looks at Garok. No, you.
Take your mark and be damned. You are not the first that will leave a scar on me.
He takes that dagger and quickly draws it in. And then tss. He turns to you, Balthazar, and says, you have been scarred already. More than enough, I think.
No,
We'll see.
your people didn't take this from me. A beast did. Mark me as well.
I will. He steps forward and he cuts into you. And he goes to do the mark, but a strange thing happens. There's a tsh. And there's this brief smoke that comes from the wound. And he looks you up and down, and then This like smile comes across. Yours will have to scar naturally, perhaps.
Balthazar kind of has a bit of a confused look on his face because he's not quite sure what just happened. He can theorize, but he sort of nods to this orc. It'll scar. I'll make sure of it.
You will not forget. And you, to you, Vasco. Will you cut the mark yourself, or will I?
Vasco looks down and he looks to his comrades. And then he looks the orc dead in the eye and he says, Father, grant me your blade. And he reaches out a hand as he casts spiritual weapon. A shining long sword materializes into his hand, breathing blue energy. And he looks upon this orc and waits.
Roll initiative.
Okay. Oh, shit.
Guys, it was fantastic playing with you all. I had a lot of fun.
Hey. The sword materializes, and it's an obvious declaration of intent. The orc like smiles and takes a step back, but Balthazar, you are first to react.
So Balthazar standing next to Vasco reaches out with his left hand, and there's a strange sort of sound that happens, and a shadowy longsword appears in his hand, about the same size and shape as Vasco's, but made of pure inky dripping shadow. It almost looks like a piece of obsidian that is just dripping with this shadow, and it materializes in his hand as he casts Shadow Blade.
Rad.
This is a bonus action, so he immediately steps forward and stabs forward with his left hand at this Blackfeather.
Okay.
Oh boy, that's out of the drawer. Here we go. Okay, 13 on the die. 19 total.
That'll hit.
Okay, and I do 3d8 plus 3 damage with this thing.
Jesus.
Yeah. 8, 15, 20, 23 damage.
Ooh. Oh my goodness.
And that's I think it's just slashing damage. Oh no, psychic damage.
Ooh, wow.
It's 23 psychic damage. So
Holy
I
shit.
don't actually wound him with this blade. The blade kind of goes through him, but it leaves this, it turns the veins black around where I stabbed him as this sort of shadowy magic spreads throughout his system. And then I sort of step back and put myself in a parrying stance as best I can, holding this sword with my offhand.
That's amazing. That is a rad spell. Holy moly. Blackfeather, you can see that there's like these black veins like standing out on his black skin. He like takes a step back and he like shakes his head. You didn't have to die. You don't have to die. Stand down. If there's no response, he's going to swing out with his blade. Is there a response?
Vasco's looking at the others. If they don't want to fight, he isn't going to, but he... right, just to make this very clear, my original intent was to make the mark with the sword, okay? But he kind of jumped into it like, oh, I'm going to kill you, so I don't mind either way. I'm happy to fight this dude, if everyone else is.
Okay, you have to understand how it looks to this guy who you've been making threats to when you summon a sword. It's a pretty clear intent, I think, on his part. So he's going to slash out at you.
At me or Balthazar?
At Balthazar, sorry, because he attacked him.
Okay.
So that's a 16 and a 17.
Both hit. There goes my other arm, guys. They're going to call me Balthazar the Torso here pretty soon.
It's going to be... Okay. It's going to be 11 slashing damage from both of those.
All right, cool. So he slashes at me, and I'm not good enough with my left hand to get up and parry that attack.
Yeah, exactly. You're not used to fighting with your left hand, and also not having another hand with which to like counterbalance.
Yep.
He makes those 2 slashes, and then he is going to step back from you. You can make an opportunity attack if you wish.
Yeah, actually, I would love to. I have the Warcaster feat, and I can cast a spell as a response.
Yes.
So I'm going to hit him with Eldritch Blast. Well, try to at least. 12 on the die. 18.
Yes.
18. Yeah, 18. Okay, cool. So that's going to be 12 damage from the Eldritch Blast, and I pull him back towards me with Hadron's grasp.
Nice.
So he steps back, and I go forward with this Panther Claw, and it grabs him, and I drag him in the dirt back towards me.
He looks impressed, and he like grins, and then he runs away again, steps back away, behind this like wall of orcs who like close in front of him. And he basically like points, and then like drops his hand. And they begin like bellowing war cries. Garrock.
He is going to whistle loudly, like this shrill, high-pitched whistle, to try to call Tuvarok to him. And he is going to... He's just going to ready an action. If anybody comes up to him, he's going to attempt... I know there's not really mechanics for it in 5th edition, but I'd like to try to disarm somebody.
Sure.
Somebody who comes at me with an attack.
Yep. So I'll say you can attack with disadvantage to try and disarm somebody. And if you hit, it'll disarm them. Okay. Vasco.
So Blackfeather has retreated behind this wall of other orcs.
Yes. Yeah. Notably behind the Akron, who was that giant orc who was in the tent with you when you first came here.
Oh, man. So seeing that Garrock is attempting to disarm this, like, am I getting the feeling that he's still trying to make a go at, like, salvaging this, or are we just going for it? Like, I need the mood of the rest of my...
Garrock is kind of shocked that it turned so quickly. I mean, probably not overly shocked because it is Vasco, but he hasn't really caught on to what's exactly is happening. So he's kind of more defensive at the moment.
Yeah,
and he's unarmed. So
you would probably get the sense that Balthazar is fighting very defensively, and it was almost an instinctual thing for him where an orc stepped towards his commanding officer and he essentially put himself in between the orc and you and sort of beat him back and then went into a defensive stance. So it is it's basically like a just try not to die situation for Balthazar.
How many orcs are there, Lloyd?
12
I mean,
million.
standing in front of you, there are 10, including the Akron, who is like noteworthy in his appearance. Like, he looks like he would fuck your day up. There's also the Blackfeather, who you'd know is a magic caster, and then there's probably another 70 or 80 orcs in the camp.
Enough! He yells. And he looks directly at Garrock, remembering something he'd said to him the other night, the other session. His words echoing in his memory about pride. And he looks at him and he says, "It's not just where lions live." And he takes his weapon and he says, "If you stand down, I will make the mark."
Blackfeather calls from behind the wall and he says, "It is not enough now. You have done harm to me. And harm to me as an emissary is harm to the great Khan. You will have to kneel. I will have to scar you."
Balthazar looks back at you, Vasco. He's still holding this shadow blade that's just sort of humming in his hand. And he says, "You don't have to do this. We could all die here."
Vasco looks at this coward before him, this black fella. And he says, "Very well.
The Akron steps towards you. And he looks down at you. And he grunts in Orcish, "Kneel."
My armor, it's a little stiff. I might need your help there."
He looks to Garrock. "What did he say?"
He kind of shakes his head for a second. He says he needs your assistance in the kneeling.
He raises an eyebrow, confused by that. "I will help him." And he puts a hand on your shoulder, and is going to step 1 foot behind you and kick the back of your knee and push you down. Unless you do something.
Well, Vasco was just sort of doing this on his jaw. But...
What, for a punch?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. So if he sees that, then that's a pretty universal thing. He wouldn't even need the translation, and he would just smile. And he would roll his shoulders into a piece of knuckles. He would lift his hands and fucking freight train. Just unbelievable strength. This orc is nearly 8 feet tall. Just fucking colossal. And yeah, he hits a ton of bricks. And I think you probably go down a ton of bricks as well.
He goes down, definitely. It's there's nothing stopping him from that. So yeah, he goes down and he looks up at this huge orc and he remembers that mental note he made earlier, but sadly not today.
That big orc steps to the side of you, and he puts a foot on your chest, as you've like hit the deck basically, and then the Blackfeather walks forward, looking very cautiously at Balthazar as he approaches, but then draws the flint knife and will like kneel next to you, Vasco, and he will like put this mark down the right side of your face, bigger than Diego had done, bigger than he had done in any of the others. This big mark down the right side of your face, and then finally he would like reach out and he like flicks the knife back into the holster, and he stands and moves back.
We are free to go.
Yes. Don't forget what happened here. You will tell your masters what happened and what will happen. Of their lands, of their children.
We will deliver your message.
And we won't forget.
No,
For once, Vasco, yes, I agree with you. This will not be forgotten.
So whipped and humiliated, you begin to make your way out of this camp. Your mounts are given back to you, as are your weapons, and they send you on your way. They watch as you ride away. This black-feathered orc watching keenly, and you can feel his eyes on your back, kind of as you ride away until finally you're out of view. And you make your way back towards Last Light, and that's where we'll end today's session.
Oh my god.
I was not expecting to walk away from that.
I thought that was it, man. I thought that was it.
Yep.
I didn't
I
want
was
it.
ready for a campaign to be done.
Yep.
I didn't want that. And I think Vasco is like, I don't want to be the cause of the death of these people.
I think it's amazing character growth for Vasco to have done that.
Yeah.
I honestly, I was not expecting Vasco to do that, so that was incredible.
Yep.
Oh, I feel fucking. Oh, I'm gonna kill him.
I can
Oh.
see it in you, Rob. You're so angry.
I wanted to be like, listen, just think about what this cripple did to you with this shadow sword, and it's going to be coming back at you tenfold, buddy.
All right, I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you to lots of the people who watched. We had like a bunch of people the whole way through, so I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Hopefully you did. And we'll see you next time.